What's up, fellas? Welcome back to Crazy Style. I apologize for this long hiatus and the lack of uploads. There's a lot that's happened since. I, unfortunately, had an accident whilst riding my CBR and ended up low-siding after braking on some gravel that I didn't see. The frame sliders I installed on my bike actually saved it. Only scuffs on the fairings and a few bent parts. I, on the other hand, did not fare so well. I ended up hitting the ground quite hard and fracturing my thumb. I was wearing all my gear, so thankfully, that was the worst of it. I ended up having surgery later that week and I'm still recovering today. Then comes this 2011 Ducati 848 EVO. The previous owner lost the keys and the dealership quoted them $3,000 for replacement keys. He was fed up and wanted to trade his 848 for my CBR, 1 for 1. I may add that my CBR was in way better condition. Only after would I find out how actually abused and unkept this poor Ducati was. We drove a 10-hour round trip to Minnesota to do the trade, and in several hours, I would be the proud owner of a costly, keyless, non-confirmed running, oil-leaking, problem-ridden pasta rocket. I didn't just stumble on this deal and impulsively trade. Well, I did, but I've long admired the Ducati 848, 1098, and 1198 Superbike for their stunning beauty. I know, strange for the number one Honda fanboy. This bike was a bike that I've wanted for a long time. For my CBR, I originally purchased it for $2,200, which is quite the steal. I put about $800 into it, so it totals around $3,000 plus or minus a few hundreds. A Ducati 848 EVO for $3,000? Now that's one heck of a deal, even if I have to put a ton of work into it. After unloading it, I immediately dived right in to see what was wrong. There were several problems that I made a list of initially. It included the following. Kickstand. The bike leaned uncomfortably far. No keys or bypass key codes, so I couldn't start the bike, confirm it turns on, or even turn the steering as it was locked. The front stay was broken, the front fairing was broken, the headlight housing was damaged, and the mounting holes on it was broken off. The shift lever was bent, probably from being dropped on its left side. It was missing fasteners. The immobilizer antenna for the transponder was broken. Complete Desmo service possibly overdue. No records, including valve clearance checks and timing belts. Super loose chain and grimy sprockets. No clue when the last oil service was done. Rear wheel speed sensor mangled. Slave cylinder was leaking, which is common on the 848, 1098, and 1198. And those were the problems I observed without even taking the bike apart. Going problem by problem, doing easiest to the hardest. Kicking off the list of known problems, the bent shift lever. Easy enough, just used a wrench to bend it back into place. To address the kickstand lean, it was as simple as disassembling it and figuring out that there was a missing fastener that bolted the bracket to the engine case. Yes, most Ducati's kickstands are bolted directly to the engine case. This is because of their racing pedigree. This is seen more as a race bike that is street legal. With the fastener bolted into the engine case, it still seems to lean a bit more than I'm used to, but maybe that's just the Ducati thing. To fix the steering lock being stuck, limiting the steering, without keys, I had to remove the tank and remove the key cover. Since the standoff screws hold the ignition cylinder in place, have no flat spots, and is hard to remove due to security reasons, the only way I could remove it was with an extractor socket. After removing it, the ignition cylinder can be unplugged from the harness and pulled right out, unlocking the steering sweep. Addressing the leaking clutch slave cylinder, I removed it from the bike to see what happened. It's common that the Ducati Superbike 848, 1098, and 1198 leak from here because the clutch push rod, which goes through the engine case, does not have an anti-rotation pin, causing the O-rings on the push rod to degrade over time and allow motor oil to leak through. The solution to this is getting a clutch push rod that has an anti-rotation pin or replacing the O-rings. But unfortunately, that was not the only issue I found there. As you can see here, a common problem on these Ducatis, specifically the 848, 1098, and 1198, they like to leak from the master slave cylinder, the slave cylinder. It's just taking this off. Alright, a lot of oil
coming from there, I believe. Taking a look at this, it would appear that there's a whole lot of oil coming from there. It appears under further inspection. This slave cylinder has kind of gotten chewed through. And that is probably due to this chain and the sprocket, because the previous owner, let's just say, had this very, very loose. So this is already out to max chain tension with the eccentric nut. But even with that, it's quite loosey-goosey. I do not think it's supposed to be doing that. So it looks like we are probably going to have to buy a new slave cylinder. Inspecting these sprockets, they look okay, but they're pretty worn down, especially probably from this really dirty chain. So might as well just get these sprockets and chain anyway. Okay, under further inspection, looking closer into this, there's a big old gash, big old chip taken out there. I don't think it's supposed to be like that. I'm gonna double check, but we might have to order a new side case, which is gonna be kind of expensive. So that kind of blows, but yeah, it is what it is. By Project Ducati, this is what you get. People don't take care of their bikes, and yeah. Oh well.
With those parts being shaved down, causing oil to leak everywhere, all over the chain and down the exhaust, and down the motor. The only way to fix it is by not fixing it, and just ordering new parts. I suspect that these parts were shaved down due to the poor maintenance of the chain and riding around with it with the chain being so slack. If the previous owner had just properly taken care of the chain and not ridden around with it slack, this could have saved me actual hundreds of dollars. The parts I have to replace are the shattered front stay, cracked front fairing, damaged headlight, broken immobilizer antenna, slave cylinder, stator and water pump cover, sprockets, and chain. Those unfortunately won't get replaced in this video except for the immobilizer antenna, which is as easy as unplugging it and plugging in the new one because the immobilizer antenna is not tied to the dash or ignition cylinder. Fixing the mangled rear wheel speed sensor, all I did was uninstall it, cut off the mangled part, cut new wire to its length, solder it, and add heat shrink to seal it from the elements. Then it could just be reinstalled.
If you're looking at here, there's a speed sensor right here. It's caked in oil and everything. There's a guide right here I have to take out. I think this cable should be in, but it's not. And that's what happens when it's not. Plugs it right there. Routes down through here and over by the exhaust. And come out and pull it out. Ugh. That's what's left of the speedo sensor. Now I just gotta get the speedo sensor out. The rear wheel speed sensor is right here. It was mounted into this hole right here that reads these little bolts on the brake disc to see how fast it goes. So you don't need a speedo healer or anything if you change sprocket sizes, which is really nice. It's just an 8mm. You just unscrew it and then it comes out. And then it was zip tied to the brake line hose right there. And now we can just pass it out under the chain. And now it's completely out. Just like that. So I'm going to take this and I'm going to clean it up and then try and resolder it because I am cheap and I do not want to buy this cable. I just gotta route the wires and have it hug the brake line. I successfully routed the wire. You can see there's supposed to be a triander here that guides the wires, but I don't have that. So I'm gonna pray that it doesn't hit my wheel. Goes under, it's got a few zip ties. I try to avoid the zip ties right next to the exhaust so it doesn't melt. I'm gonna come around this side. The route's down here. Follow that, okay. And up this line. Sorry, up this line. All the way back up here. And it is right here. Here. There's a clip on the top that you just slide in.
Next up is checking the valve clearances. Ducati is famously known for using a desmodromic valve system, which relies on mechanical lobes on the cams to both open and close the valves. Desmodromic valves were invented to deal with poor metallurgy in the valve train, which led to valve float in the early 1900s. Due to modern metallurgy, this is no longer an issue, but Ducati continued to use it because of its heritage and brand identity. Desmodromic valve checks are typically not done because of how expensive they are and how labor intensive they are. If you take your Ducati that has Desmo valves to a dealer, you're probably looking somewhere in the ballpark of $1,500 to $2,000 in parts and labor. The following services like the timing belts and oil are also going to be in the future video due to waiting for parts to arrive. I sincerely apologize for not covering the Desmo valve adjustments in this video. I have everything filmed, but the process and everything is very tedious and just takes so long that I really don't want to drag out the length of this video. So perhaps the Desmo service itself will be its own video.